Good morning and welcome to GC 365. I'm Mariah, the children's pastor at our Lake Stevens campus, and I'm here with my best friend in the whole wide world, Reagan.
Hello.
Reagan, what day are we on today?
223.
223. We are on day 223.
223.
And today I figured, what better way to start our morning than with some red vines and some Funyuns and some Reese's peanut butter cups?
That's a good way to start the morning.
Sounds like the best way to start the morning. The equivalent of like red vines is like candy, just like coffee. Like it wakes you right up.
Yeah.
So let's just do it. Sugar
also wakes you up.
Well, that's exactly it. The sugar wakes you up. You want a red vine?
Yeah.
Cheers. Oh, wait, we got to cheers it.
Oh. Well, I'll use the other side.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So today we are talking about Nehemiah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Nehemiah is?
He's a guy who worked for the king. He was like someone who would test the food to make sure like it wasn't poisoned.
Mm-hmm. So Nehemiah was a cupbearer for the king. So a little bit of backstory on Nehemiah. If you read it, you got the first 3 chapters today. Nehemiah was living in a town in a land called Susa, and he was the king's cupbearer. And his hometown of Judah was being destroyed. By the way, we know a Judah, so shout out to Judah. Hey, Judah.
Hi.
His whole town of Judah, the gates, the walls, and the towers were being destroyed. And so he came in, or somebody that he knew came in, and he was like, hey, bro, like, how's my town doing? And he's like, whoa, actually, it's being destroyed. And so Nehemiah was super bummed about that. You ate that so fast? Get it. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted by your candy speed eating. So Nehemiah was like super sad that his town was being destroyed. So he asked the king if he could go and help rebuild it. But first things first, say it again, because you already said it. What is a cupbearer? That's his job. His job was the cupbearer for the king.
So he would taste the drinks and eat the food before the king did to make sure it wasn't poisoned.
So on that note, before we go any farther, I should probably warn you, I poisoned one of these pieces of licorice. So you have to taste all of them, like a little bit, before you give it to me. Before I eat it, like you have to taste test them first, so that when you get to the poison one, it affects you first.
Yeah, the poison one, oh God.
No, my next question for you is there anybody that you love enough that you would be willing to be the cupbearer for them, so that if you got poisoned, like you would die and they would live? Don't say me, because listen, like, let's be realistic. Like realistically, who do you love enough that you would do that for? Me? That's sweet of you, but like really?
Probably someone in my family.
Okay.
Like a relative who's already doing really bad, and like that would just make it really worse.
wait. Oh, we talked about this earlier, and she was saying, okay, it's kind of bad, but she was saying like, actually, if you were a cupbearer for like a bad king and you knew it was poison, you could like pretend to sip it and then give it to them.
And then have them die, and then you be thrown in jail, but you don't die. So.
I mean, it's a little morbid, but like, I mean, it's not far-fetched. I bet they probably did that kind of stuff.
They probably deserved it, though.
I mean, listen, that's a whole nother level of...
If they kill innocent children, then they definitely deserve it.
But I mean, okay. But I mean, like, to sin is sin to God. So, like, listen, that's a whole nother time. We can have that conversation another time. We'll leave here and we'll go talk about sin and stuff like that. But anyways, back to the cupbearer. How much do you think he made? Do you think he made a lot of money to be able to do it for a king? Like, it wasn't like his family. He wasn't willing to die for just like his mom, his wife, his kids. He was willing to die for the king. Like, he probably got paid pretty well, do you think?
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine.
He would probably get like 3 pieces of gold every time he tested something. Or so I would think.
I would think as well. So, anyways, he goes to the king and he says, you want some Funyuns?
Yeah.
So Nehemiah goes to the king, and he just don't chew into the microphone, because that wouldn't be so great. He goes to the king and he says, hey, king, I'd like to go and rebuild my city. And the king says, yeah, sure, you betcha. But the king didn't just let him go. Let's recap some of the things the king did. First, he said, well, how long are you going to be gone for? Now, the Bible doesn't tell us how long Nehemiah told the king he'd be gone for, but we can imagine it's a long time because he had to rebuild a bunch of towers, a bunch of gates, a bunch of city walls. So because of that, you can imagine he probably told the king, hey, I'm going to be gone for years, multiple years. And the king said, yeah, sure, go ahead. Get on with your bad self. Go do it. And then Nehemiah said, well, actually, king, on top of that, would you mind writing a little letter so that all of the places I pass through, they won't hurt me, that you're basically guaranteeing my safety. It's a letter from the king saying, hey, don't hurt Nehemiah or I'll hurt you. So the king said, yeah, sure, I'll do that too. Then he said, okay, well, king, can you also
give me an army?
Give me an army of protection.
Yeah.
Right? While he's traveling. And he also gave him access to like a bunch of timber and wood to help rebuild this place. So the king didn't just let him go. The king let him go and like gave him all this stuff too and did all the things for Nehemiah. So my question for you, the king went above and beyond for Nehemiah. When is the time you went above and beyond for somebody? And when is the time someone went above and beyond for you?
Someone went above and beyond for me because what they did was they opened a water slide early because right when it opened was right when we were leaving. So they opened it early and so then we could all play on it. And something else someone went above and beyond for me was my friend Riley.
Shout out to Riley. Whoop, whoop.
And she bought me a really expensive doll and out of the goodness of her heart because she has a dog business and she earns money from it, and then she used that money to buy me a really expensive doll.
That's so sweet of her. And also, I should brag a little bit. Sweet Reagan over here goes above and beyond for my kids all the time. So when Royce my oldest son is Royce, who's now 6. But at the time, he was like 3 or 4. And they were playing a game. And I said, hey, Reagan, can you let Royce play with you? And so she like made the game simple for him. She did it gentle, like it was a ball game. She did it gentle so that Royce could play with them. She included him, gave him lots of turns. And then like I only asked her to do it like the one time, but then she did it all the time. Every time we came to church, you did it for him. Mm-hmm. And then now that Royce is big and hanging with the big kids, now my middle son is Pratt and he's 3 and Reagan does it for Pratt all the time. She always makes sure in the bouncy house, everyone jumps gentle so Pratt doesn't get hurt. She always plays with him. She always makes sure he's got plenty of balls to play with during games and all that kind of stuff and has lots of turns. So Reagan goes above and beyond for my kids every day. Great job, girl. Okay, so the king went above and beyond for Nehemiah. Nehemiah goes and he starts divvying out the building of all of these towers and gates and all this kind of stuff to be fixed. So let's go over the list of the names of some of these things because these are silly names. Like these are a bit crazy, right? Okay, mm-hmm. So we had the Sheep Gate. Bah. There's the Tower of the 100.
Did they have like 100-year-old men and women sleep there? Or what?
I mean, probably. I mean, I would. When I'm 100, I want to go there. We have the Tower of Hananel. Boring, whatever. We have the Fish Gate.
Did they use fish scales to build it?
Likely. And bones. They probably ground up bones and made bricks out of the bones, fish bones.
Maybe. That sounds weird, though.
That sounds real weird.
Like, why didn't they just use wood?
Great question, Reagan.
Or metal. Something stronger than fish bones.
Maybe fish bones are like the strongest thing in the world. We just don't know it.
Or they just used, because it was garbage to them, but then they're like, oh, we can build defenses out of this.
Genius.
So
maybe they're just really smart. Okay, and we also have the Old City Gate. Boring. We have the Broad Wall, also boring. The Tower of the Ovens. I bet you they made pizzas there.
Maybe they also used ovens for like the gate. Like imagine that. Like this is where you all cook, this oven gate that I built.
So everybody comes to the Tower of the Ovens to cook their dinner.
Yeah.
You just have a long line of people trying to cook their chicken in the ovens.
Yeah, that'd be that'd
be interesting. Then we have the Valley Gate, and the last one is Reagan's favorite. What's your favorite one?
The Dung Gate.
The Dung Gate. The Poop Gate. The Dung.
Poop Gate.
They probably used cow dung to build it.
Yeah, and then they're like, can we get some of this over this way. Like, that's probably where all the waste went, was right there, because that's actually resourceful.
You're so smart.
But why would they have to name it after what they use? Like, couldn't they keep it a secret?
That's a great question. Listen, someday when we get to heaven, you can ask all of these questions.
Yeah, and then I'll get all the answers.
That's perfect. Now, what's the most, like, if you were to build a gate or a tower or a wall, what would you name it? Like the most random thing.
Old McDonald's Gate.
Old McDonald's Gate?
Licorice Gate.
Licorice Gate? The Reese's Peanut Butter Gate? Peanut Butter Gate.
Funyun Gate.
Funyun Gate. I was thinking like Potato Skin Tower.
That'd be funny. Cardboard Box Gate.
Okay. I mean, I think these are all great. I'm running out of ideas though. Maybe Fern Gate, like the plant behind us, Fern Gate. Like Ferngully. Have you ever seen Ferngully?
No.
Okay.
Paper Tower.
Paper tower. They build it right out of paper.
Mm-hmm.
It blows over like all the time, super easily. So I was just thinking, so recently, a little props to myself, I built like an extra little patio outside of my door. It's pretty legit. And I just finished it. And I worked really hard on it. And it took me multiple days and it was a lot of work. And I was like bending and lifting and doing all this stuff. And it was a small patio project. Nehemiah literally built gates and towers with a group of people. Like, he worked so hard. I complained all the time when I was doing this project. Like, nonstop, I was complaining. Like, I was just complaining constantly.
Didn't he build like a city?
He basically built like the entire city. All of the walls,
like
the towers.
What a city is back then? That's what a city was. Like it wasn't like glass buildings.
No,
it was.
There was just buildings and a wall around it.
Maybe they used fish bones for those buildings.
I bet they did. But like, can you imagine being Nehemiah and building these walls and gates and like just doing it because it's the right thing to do? Like, no one hired you to do it. He just did it because he was like, oh, that's my city. I got to go do it. And he didn't complain. Well, he might have complained. The Bible didn't tell us. But I complained a lot and I did a tiny little project. Nehemiah built like all of these towns and stuff and didn't complain.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Superhuman powers.
Yeah. I wish he could have built it. Like, I wonder what it would look like if they had Legos back then.
Ooh.
If he'd built all of them out of Legos.
Wait, what if he then colored them with like rainbow stuff? Like he took blood and made a rainbow.
What's going
and
on?
Then orange juice.
We're going off the rails. Here's our challenge for you this week. Or today even. Our challenge for you is to do something above and beyond. Go above and beyond for somebody in your life. Because the king did it for Nehemiah and look how it worked out. Nehemiah was able to do so much for God. And we want you to do something like that. We want you to go above and beyond for somebody. And we want you to do something hard and not complain. Can you do that?
Yeah, because we know you're awesome.
We know you're awesome. Reagan and I are going to do the same thing. We're going to go above and beyond for somebody and we're going to not complain for like a whole day and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We're probably going to end up complaining a lot the
No,
next
we're
day.
trying not to. Oh, the next day to make up for it. All right.
Yeah.
High five, Reagan. Bring it in. Great job, team. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.